lecture. Okay, Dr. Shalini Kaushik is an assistant professor at the Department of English, Government PG College, Guna, Madhya Pradesh. She has completed her PhD entitled Aesthetics of Walt Disney Films, assisting Gaur University Saga. She has completed her both BA and MA from Jesus and Mary College, University of Delhi. She has been a member of the Women Study Development Cell during her college days, and she has also interned from HT City, Delhi, and the lifestyle supplement of in the Sun Times and also published by Times in her own name. Her area of interest includes popular cultural studies, feminist literature, and literary criticism. She has also organized a workshop and a lecture series at her own department. And presently and interestingly, she is the youngest head of the department at her college. Now, I would request thank you, Durga ma'am. A very happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all of you. Before I begin, let me just share the screen.
Is the screen visible? Acha, it's here.
Is the screen visible?
Video and mic
Acha,
both.
okay. Video and mic both. Okay. 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 Is it fine? One. Before I begin, I would like to thank VC sir, registrar sir, dean sir, head of the department. Now it's a university, so I'll say head of the school. Boss sir, thank you so much, all the faculty members and students, research scholars, me time and this opportunity that I'm here. So I'm very, very grateful to you for that. So before I begin, I would say that I am not speaking from a position of an intellectual today. I am a facilitator today. So let's learn together. Let's share our views together. And I want an interactive session because it's specially planned for students and research scholars. So nobody is wrong today. Nobody is going to judge you today. So whatever you feel, just say, right? So are we afraid of the F word? So before we go to in a different direction, seeing the question, so let's begin with some questions that I have for the students. So I'll be giving you, there's a question, there are 4 to 5 questions that I have. So whatever option you feel right, just raise your hand. So are we ready? I need a yes from you all. Are we ready? Oh, great. So the first one, what do you understand by feminism today? First one, women ruling over men. So how many of you think that feminism is women ruling over men? Raise your hands. Okay. Fake dowry cases. Anyone? No. Fashionable social media movement. Anyone? Next, equality of all the genders. Oh, great. Theory is सबको clear है. That's great. Now let's put it in practice now. So next question. To be a feminist, one has to be a woman. How many of you say true? Anyone? False? Great. Great. We'll answer this question. People who say that no idea, we'll be answering it by the time we finish the lecture. Next one. Do you know about hashtag #MeToo movement? People who say yes. Great. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. I was not expecting this. 5, 6. No. How many of you don't know about it? It's okay. How many of you don't know about it? Great. 1, 2, 3, 4. And thoda bahut pata hai. Somewhat you know about it? Somewhat? Okay. 1. Great. We'll also talk about it. So do you know about slut walk or Besharmi Morcha? The first one, yes. How many of you say yes? No one? No? क्या idea? Do you want to say anything? Okay. You can answer in Hindi if you're comfortable in Hindi. I'm okay with it. What about you? Okay. What's your name? Abhinav. Thank you, Abhinav. Okay, so I have the last question for you all. There are two sets. You don't need a pen and paper for that. Just take your two hands. Set one has 12 maximum in a set. So which set have you seen the maximum? So the first set A. You can count on one of your hands and the other one. So set A, angry in queen, pink, fast, mardani, key and ka, puglet, Thappar, Rashmi Rocket, Bulbul, Gunjan Saxena. These are Hindi movies. Okay, this is set one. Okay. Now let's go to set B. Ka Panchnama, Puli number one, Bagi, Gold, Padman. So how many of you have watched the maximum number of movies in set B? Set B. All right, great. Set A, anything that you have watched, one or two, three, five. Okay, not bad, not bad. So that's the thing, most of us watch films which are very commercially successful with male lead actors. There's a pay disparity also in Bollywood or Indian cinema where men get male actors get paid more than the females. So that's a men's issues. But I feel it's successful because of Akshay Kumar more than Bhumi. It's a great film, great issue, but still I feel the female space is little less as compared to the male space in the film. So let's begin now. Before I begin, I have three poems from my own book, and the poems are very, very short, just 2, 3 lines. So just keep that in mind before I begin with the main lecture. And these poems are related to what I'm going to say. So the first poem is titled Basin. So let me read it for you. Basin. A 6-year-old tells her to put basin for a fairer skin and to remove hair from her upper lip because girls cannot be dark and hairy. Right? So the next one is titled as Space. Space. You ask her to sit with her legs closed. You ask her to occupy the littlest space. Why? Because she's a girl, because she's a woman, she wishes she could strike you hard while screaming patriarchy, sexism, misogyny. So in Hindi, you have, I don't know if there's no equivalent as sir said that Nariwad you have Pitrasatta. So this for the students, the Dvesh Bhav that you have for three women. So that's, I can't say this is Hindi equivalent of it, but that's the little translation that I can do. And the last one is there, which is titled as Abuse. Even the Hindi abuses didn't leave our women and their vagina in peace. So it's not that the English abuses are any far behind. So I'm just connecting it with our own society that we live in. Some common phrases that we all hear. And these phrases actually devalue genders. I'm not just saying women, but men and the third gender. Women, girls, hearing it from their parents, ठीक से better, especially mothers. And men also hear that, no doubt. But it's generally women get to hear that more. ये औरतों के काम हैं. These are the works of a woman when the household chores are being done. So these are very, very, when we say that language is also gendered, and Govt sir elaborated it very well. So language is also highly gendered. What we speak, we don't notice what we are speaking. It's a part of our socialization that we get into us. पूरे दिन क्या करती रहती हो? What do you do the whole day when especially men come back after work and women are generally homemakers? They get to hear this. Be a man. Be a macho. So this is the kind of a pressure that men also have from society to be masculine. हाथों में चूड़ियां पहन रखी हैं क्या? That you don't, it is very, very, it devalues gender. What are churiya equivalent to? Is it something that they are fragile? Women are fragile, they are weak. And a man who doesn't want to be violent, a man who doesn't want to get into it, why do you have to comment like that to a man? मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता. So we've all heard that. There are movies also made on that. So be macho, be masculine. Men don't cry. क्या लड़कियों की तरह रो रहा है? क्या लड़कियों की तरह शर्मा रहा है? You aren't like other women. So when women get to hear that you are special, you're not like other women. So you cannot go hand in hand. All the genders have to come together to move hand in hand to have this equality in our society. And these are not just theories. If each one practices it, it will happen for sure. So let me begin with a kind of demarcation about sex and gender, the general notions that are there, and the socialization process. So sex is biological, gender is a social construct. So what is the socialization process when a child is born? The child imitates and then learns from the family first and then the society. So there are two kinds of socialization that happens. The first one is informal socialization, and then formal kind of socialization where the child goes to school and learns other institutions, school, college, religious institutions, etc. So Ruth Hartley's division of socialization process has 4 principles. So the first one is manipulation. What happens in manipulation? You manipulate a child. For example, आप girls को pink frock में dress करो. To dress the girls in pink frocks, put cute clips. So the girl internalizes it कि ऐसा ही होता है हमेशा. Everything happens like that, right? That is manipulation. Then, and you tell your boy child, you're strong, right? You're very, very strong. So that is manipulation. You manipulate a child that way. Next is canalization, or some say channelization. That means channelizing the attention of a person, of a child in that direction. For example, what would channelization mean? You demarcate between toys. So dolls for girls, guns for boys, wheels for boys, kitchen sets for girls. That is channelization that is happening. And we don't even realize that something is happening here. Next is verbal appellation. This is a stage or a principle which actually Raja Beta, Rani Beti, handsome boy, beautiful girl. So it's not beautiful boy or a handsome girl. Right? So these are the words that we use for kids, and they imbibe all of them. Last one is activity exposure, where we demarcate the roles of the genders. Women at home, men outside. It's changing. This is the basic thing. It's changing now for sure. So, but we need more changes to come into picture. So now, when I say feminism today, we need to see it in context of the popular culture. So there are a lot of how is the popular culture, like what is popular culture? So you might have heard of the word pop culture. So it's same as popular culture, and it was introduced it was popular in the mid 20th century. From there, it gained its importance. Ray B. Brown was someone who came up with a journal, then a department, association. He worked hard to get this department set up. It was the first in the US, and it includes almost everything. So popular culture is your popular fiction, advertisements, films, uh, anything, any text which is very, very commercial or very, very mass produced would come under popular culture. So at the same time, it is also important because at the end of the day, when you watch films or advertisements or anything, what you see is, or you read popular culture, what you see is you kind of start admiring a character or a role. So it also, in a way, defines that you want to be this person or you don't want to be this person, right? So popular culture is also relevant there, with somewhat it associates with your identity. It doesn't give you an identity, but you pick up elements which add on to your identity through popular culture. Now, as a discipline, today also it has a lot of stereotypes. So the stereotypes that are there with popular culture is like it's frivolous, बेकार का है. जिन लोगों को असली पढ़ाई नहीं करनी वो popular culture ले लेते हैं. So people who don't understand classical literature, people who don't want to spend much time, they take popular culture. So these are the stereotypes with popular culture. People think it's very easy. People think it's undemanding. So there's always been this debate between high and low culture. So, and it keeps on changing. Like Shakespeare was popular then. Today, Shakespeare is classical. So it keeps on changing with time. It evolves with time. So I feel these are all flawed categories. The line gets blurred with time. A lot of people think it's non-literary. It has no aesthetics, and all because of its mass production or mass consumption, and therefore mass consumption. So there's always been a divide between literary criticism and popular culture. But we need to understand there's no point of having this divide because you can't study popular culture without literary criticism. So you need to analyze the text on the basis of the literary criticism that you have learned. So they all go hand in hand, and you can't do anything with the theory unless and until you apply it somewhere. So in practice is very, very important. So therefore, there shouldn't be a debate between literature proper and para literature. Para literature is the popular culture that you have. Now let me talk about little about the introduction of feminism. So in 1916, it was at peak. Not that it did not exist before that; it existed, but it was at peak in 1960s, and a lot of other movements were going on at that time. So we had civil rights movement, hippie movement, anti-Vietnam War protests. So if we see the division of feminism, how it's divided into waves, this is according to the Western theory. So it's divided in Indian context. Obviously, it is different. So according to and feminism comes from there. So it became popular. It was there in India also, but we had a department and everything. 1960s women's right movement that was there. So it comes from Western. It voices itself from Western culture, and today it's very, very relevant in India as well and in world in general. So it's from 1848 to 1920. We have the first wave of feminism. So 1848 marks the Seneca Falls Convention, where women wanted right to vote. So next, 1960s to 80s, second wave, the slogan that was there, personal is political. So your personal needs were become political as well, because it was no longer about inside the walls or behind the walls. You need to step out. So personal was becoming political. 1990s third wave, with this book, Gender Trouble by Judith Butler, very, very eminent book where she problematizes gender and even sex, how she makes it a performative theory. And 2010, if we see present day, fourth wave or xenofeminism, where we have in the third wave there was intersexuality. Here it was also the more intersexuality plus the use of technology that is there. So more and more technology came into picture in the present day feminism or fourth wave feminism. I don't know if India has reached fourth wave feminism, or we can say that we can be divided. It's totally different. We cannot compare Indian feminism with the Western feminism. So we are struggling for our culture is different. We have our different problems. So therefore, but certain problems are similar. It gives a base. Western feminism gives a base to explore. So today, a lot of people post feminism or post hyphen feminism. So I have not understood this term till now. So there are a lot of people say that what is feminism now? Isms are gone. There's no need of any ism. And we are now done with that, and we've reached a stage where it's after goal that we were trying to fight for. So I don't think so. This ism could be irrelevant today. And a lot of people say like it's backlash that enough of feminism now. Let's do away with that. So there's a kind of anger and backslash backslash that is there. So that is also there. Some people think it's that. So nobody knows the answer. I feel I don't know. Maybe you know it better. So what is post feminism? I'm still exploring. I'm still caught up in feminism. So forget post feminism. So what was important there was they had this consciousness raising techniques. So that started questioning. They became conscious of themselves. So they started coming together. So, but with radical feminism, the problem was black women felt that they were not represented in this category of radical feminists. So they felt oppressed, and in fact, doubly oppressed because of their race, one gender, second race. They fought for abortion rights, maternity leave, equal employment opportunities, etc. So in 1968, there was this demonstration against Miss America contest in Atlantic City. So burning of the bras happened there. So again, why I'm referring to it? It was one of the important event in the history of feminism. And at the same time, you need to understand that Miss America, that means a beauty pageant, which is popular culture again. So part of popular culture. So today, it's not a matter of like people who want to be models or they want to represent. It's a big thing, So it's more about choices today. You cannot know what you're choosing. So it's a kind of a career which should be appreciated because it's their choice. So it's a kind of a career which should be appreciated because it's their choice. So today's feminism is more about choices but conscious choices. Representation, it believes in hyphen presenting themselves. Women believed in this, and their hyphen talks about revisionary history. So Elaine Showalter also says that there's this need to have history with a small h. So history with a capital H, everybody knows it's documented. So history with a small h is something which needs black feminism. So all of it. So that comes under revisionary history, which needs to be documented. It cannot be about white women, right? So the problems with radical feminism. So today we need to practice liberal feminism. Radical feminism is the reason why most of the people are afraid of the word feminism. So we need to do away with the radical feminism. So there were certain drawbacks of radical feminism. They promoted lesbianism. They were totally anti-men. So they thought we don't need men. So this is a big pitch. Anger and aggression was there in them. They attacked men. They attacked patriarchy, but in a very limited sense. They attacked patriarchy, but not the institutions which promoted patriarchy, except for marriage. So they attacked institutions which promoted patriarchy, except for marriage. So there is a need to have a liberal feminist aspect. A person, I would say, also includes third gender in it. It's not limited to women. So today it's not about feminism anymore. It's feminisms that you have today. So let me come to popular culture and how we can analyze this. So for example, this is an advertisement of. So it's Ranbir Kapoor here, and what does the line say? Score more with apps blast. So what do you see? Now the point is we need to see that how women are treated as numbers. So the more beautiful, like better you smell, more women will get attracted to you. So you see how women are objectified here. एक ऑब्जेक्ट की तरह उन्हें देखा जा रहा है कि the I have apps on me, and women will be there's a line of women, so score more. So there's a great objectification that you see here, and they're devaluing women here, objectifying them. Also, a matter of gaze, which is very important. So we need to understand that what is gaze? Gaze is nazariya. So what is gaze? I might be wrong in my translation. Please correct me after the this lecture. So when you see, when the gaze means it can happen at two levels. So one is within, the other is without. So the gaze which is happening from without, it's the male gaze. आदमी जैसे औरत को देखते, that's the male gaze. What is the within? The one that we internalize ourselves according to the society. जैसे लोग हमें देखते हैं हम वही अपने अंदर imbibe कर लेते हैं. So that's the internal gaze that you have from within. So we are imbibing the gaze of the society. So both ways we are pressurized to behave in a certain way according to the expectations of the society. So here we see objectification of women. Next, let's talk about this advertisement wheat. So, what do you see here? So, razors are for boys, don't shave it. So, what is wheat then? The pressure on women to remove their bodily hair. Why? Because I said basin. Because women are expected to be hairless, fair, and proper, quote unquote. So therefore, this is another commercial. If you see pink color associated with women most of the time, and you see that mustache that she has put, that you can't have that. It's an additional thing. It has to be removed. So it's not as a part of a body. It's a kind of a prop that she has put up, and you need to remove that through wheat. So you can't do it with razors, but you can do it with a cream. Why? Because it's painless in a way also. So that is how this advertisement could be read. Very, very gendered things that you see. There's another advertisement which I would like to play here, which is an advertisement of Prega News. And I'll ask you to answer. I can't hear it. Sounds.
इसमें भी आवाज आनी चाहिए ना.
हाँ सर, ये तो फुल है.
इसमें भी नहीं आ रही ना. लैपटॉप में भी तो होना चाहिए. लैपटॉप में भी नहीं आ रहा. गूगल मीट साउंड है. देखो सकते हैं. वहां से कुछ नहीं है. सेटिंग से कुछ नहीं.
ये तो हो गया.
गूगल मीट कहाँ ये चल रही है. ये तो ठीक है. नहीं आ रहा. Slides का स्लाइड गूगल स्लाइड पे किया नहीं नहीं गूगल स्लाइड में है नहीं हाँ ये गूगल स्लाइड में याद इससे पहले आपने उसका सॉन्ग सुना
Now, we cannot play this advertisement. I can talk about it. So, this was a Prega News advertisement, and it says hashtag she can carry both, where a female is glorified for having doing her duty as very well doing it professionally and very well at the same time she can carry the child. Now it seems really good. I know it's a very, very amazing. Men does not talk about women who don't want to do it. What if a lot of women don't want to choose both the things? So amazing message, but at the same time, if we criticism is important, right? At the same time, if we see, so there's this kind of pressure that on this superwoman that she can be perfectly great at home, like bring up a child, and at the same time do great at her job as well. So we don't see any men in pictures showing how if there's a contribution of a male in raising a child or helping a woman. So we don't see any of it in this advertisement. So I'll move to the next slide. Okay, so there are two movies here. Most of us might have seen this. One is Pink, and the other is Mission Mangal. So just look at the poster that is there. So Pink. If you see the reason why I read women occupy littlest of spaces. So if you see the poster, three women, important women, and the storyline is also very important. These are lead figures here. But at the same time, if you see the poster, there's a man who occupies the maximum space and he is hovering over the women's images. That is how I read it. I would like to read it. The film, amazing. Cast, amazing. Amitabh Bachchan, great job. But do you think would it be great if instead of Amitabh Bachchan, there would next if you see, same thing, Mission Mangal. All the women on one side and Akshay Kumar on the other side. So all the commercial success goes to Akshay Kumar here for the poster. And there are important women. So we have Vidya Balan, we have Sakshi Pannu, we have Sonakshi. They are all important women, but again, on one side, if you see, and the other side, we have Akshay Kumar. So these are just postures where these are just kind of in boards that when you see, just keep analyzing these things when you see it when the trailer is out, right? Just see how are things depicted in our society. So we have songs. Our Bollywood is as objects. So we have, if I say, you all have. I don't want to read it, but then बादशाह जहां से होना चाहिए वहीं से है तू thick. So these are the lyrics that, and what are they called? Item number. A lot of songs are called item numbers. What is item? This is kind of an object. So these are the kind of lyrics that we also dance on them in functions, no doubt. So we don't analyze कि कौन इतना करेगा क्या है डांस करना है तो कर लेते हैं right but these are small things. Language is very very important. What you are saying, what you are hearing is very very important to understand these things. So तू चीज बड़ी है मस्त मस्त objectification. अबे हट जा सामने से तेरी भाभी खड़ी है. All this concept of bhabification that you have, you know, it's a kind of women become a possession कि ये मेरी है, right? She becomes a possession for men a lot of time. Young boys, I'm saying, right? So these are few item numbers, rap songs that you have in the Indian cinema, and item numbers itself is a very, very derogatory term, and we shouldn't be using it. Now, there's something called Bedtile Test, which is important. So, this is a test, and it was named after American cartoonist Alison Bechdel. And in this test, what you see is you can analyze any film, advertisement, web series, anything according to a concept where two women are talking to each other, and they shouldn't be talking about men. So this is a kind of bare minimum to see if it's kind of a film where females are represented well. So it's a test, kind of a bare minimum test where you can analyze a film or a web series or a novel on the basis of that how two women or more than two women are interacting with each other, and they should also have names. It's better if they have names. A lot of times women don't have names. Right? So it's good to have names, and they're talking about sisterhood or anything else except men. So that is one of the ways that a lot of scholars are analyzing texts according to the Bechdel test. That is there. Now, there are a lot of web series or TV series where I find strong female leads. They can be criticized on another level, but we do see strong female leads in these web series. How many of you have watched any of it? Aranyak, Delhi Crime, Pushpavali, Ladies Room, Adulting, Four More Shots Please, The Trip, Girls Hostel, The Interns, Made in Heaven. Anyone watched anything in it? Even one? So we need to. Great. Which one? Okay. Okay, great. So at least you should watch all of it and analyze for yourself what you find right or what you find wrong in it. So now, what are the cartoons that our kids today are consuming? So there are English cartoons as well, but what we find is these cartoons and dubbed versions. So that our kids are watching. So you see Doraemon, very popular. You see Ninja Hattori, very popular. So in Doraemon and Ninja Hattori, how many females do you see even here? Just one or two. And how are the females represented here? Blush, frocks, skirts, and they're always a love interest, like in Bollywood films. So the boy who is the main character, they are running up after female leads, girls, Suzuka, right, and Yumiko. And they do nothing in the series except be a kind of a model, and then the men, like the boy, is running after to have a love interest. She's a love interest of these male characters. Now let's talk about magazine covers. Vogue, very very popular magazine. So this was 2015 cover. So first one we have Rani Mukherjee, and what's written here? The reign of Rani, 2 decades, 45 movies, one fairy tale marriage. So why are women expected to be always flawless? So that's what Vogue is saying, that the standards, the ideal beauty standards, that it has been 2 decades and she's still the same. How is it possible? Right? And one fairy tale marriage is an achievement for all of us. That's what it's building up in the minds of women. That one fairy tale wedding is all we want. Bas. हो गया जिंदगी में जो करना था सबसे बड़ी achievement. No. So that's what you see at times. Popular culture is inculcating certain things. Ageless issue. So she is ageless. Women are expected to be ageless. So when you see the bodies of women, even Irish Marian Young, one of the feminists, has written on it, and she visualized. Like, for example, their legs, breasts. So the camera angle, even Laura Mulvey, another feminist, she says that, many a times what happens, the cinematographer is a male. And even if it's a woman, that internalization happens. So they focus on they stop and pause the camera on certain angles. And those angles are at times focusing on certain body parts of women where they can be shown. This becomes a big problem. So, what we as individuals need to do is we need to do away with this kind of treatment. We need to do away with that internalization of gaze. We need to call for the whole destruction of visual pleasure that is found in the dominant sphere, right? So, and also if you might have seen, women are trained to smile more, beta smile karte rehna. So these are the things that women are taught, and then it gets into them, and they don't realize that they're following it, and they become part of the system by doing all of it. So in case of men, if we see tall, dark, and handsome, why is dark handsome, and why women who is dark is not beautiful? Right? So these are the standards, different standards. For men, defects are being praised at times. For women, you have to be ageless and flawless to please everyone. Otherwise, you're not desirable. Right? So that is something this Vogue seems to be portraying. Next is Karina in 2016. They're very recent covers if you see. So 2016, Karina is there, and then if you see that hourglass kind of figure that she has, and a mockery of a strength that we see. She's carrying the dumbbells. Nobody goes to gym like. So, and the proper kind of slits that you see here, so that's purposely done to attract people and to make women also realize that this is where we need to reach. This is our standard that we need to, and that they keep on doing it, and at times they enter the whole of destruction in doing so. You play up with your body so much because zero figure, what we say. Kareena Kapoor in Tashan, we all remember, she had zero figure. So that visual literacy is important, and it should be used to educate others and not do jokes which could hurt others or devalue other genders. So in today's time, there's a concept which has come up called pop feminism, but it is something, it's not even feminism, it's something at a very, very surface level, does not question oppressive structures, it normalizes male gaze in the name of choice, right? We need to know that what is a choice, conscious choice and unconscious choice. Then it is based on capitalism, that means all at the same time, they do certain things which do not uplift those women. So, hashtag girl boss, very overtly. What is girl boss? You need to go in the structures to understand that. So, this is something which is not part of academia. It is a privileged approach, and it is a falsification of empowerment. It is not even empowerment. On the surface, it might seem as an empowerment, but it is not. With kind of on a positive note, so where there's a hope, there's a way. So there are certain changes happening in this regard, and we need to acknowledge those changes to move ahead in life. So the first one, as I said, it's Aranya Johar, very young feminist. She has come up with a feminist slam poetry. Her poetry is a title, you can YouTube it. A Brown Girl's Guide to Beauty, A Brown Girl's Guide to Gender, The Language of Equality. We have Kamla Bhasin in the Indian context. She passed away recently. So she had come up with nursery rhymes, which in a family where father is equally involved in bringing up a child. Father is equally working at home in bringing up their children. And the children are talking to each other, and they are actually bringing forward the gender disparity that is there. So she has, in a way, redefined nursery rhymes for us. Because if we see nursery rhymes in English also, if you see Jack and Jill were up the hill, they're so male dominated. The girl is coming after the boy when they're tumbling down, right? So these are the kinds of, even in nursery rhymes, we see they're very, very gendered. And let me talk of fairy tales. Cinderella, Snow White. The only aim that they have is to get married, and very, very fragile. Today, there are few Disney, if I would say princesses, quote unquote. It's changing, like Moana, very, very powerful. So Disney is also changing today. So we have Moana as one of the strong. Pocahontas was also one of the strong female leads that we have. There's this video which talks about Kamla Basin's nursery rhymes. You can watch it on YouTube since I can play it here. Okay. So other changes that are happening are, one is the Azadi song you might have heard. Azadi song, you can YouTube it. It is very popular in one of the movies Gully Boy, if you've seen. So it does not come all of a sudden. It has a history. It comes from the Kamla Basin popularized it at the Women's Studies Conference at Kolkata's Chhatarpur University. There's another campaign that was there. It's still there, He for She, where we need men to support women. Women can't do everything on their own. We need equally supportive men so that they can attain that position that what they are aspiring for. So it was formed in 2014, and Emma Watson, the Harry Potter girl, so she's the brand ambassador of it. So we were talking about slut walk. Slut walk is a concept where what happened was for rapes, women were blamed. Victims were blamed. Why? Because of their dressing sense. So this was something which was they wanted to raise a voice against this thing, that you cannot blame the victim for their dressing, because a 3-year-old girl is also raped, right? And women in burqa are also raped. Women in saris are also raped, and short skirts are also raped. So dresses have nothing to do with it. Right? So this is where a lot of women, men, third gender had come together, and they came out with a kind of a walk. They walked, and then they wore whatever they wanted to wear, and they said that you cannot blame the victims. You cannot blame the women for what they are dressing, for the rapes. So the first, we think that MP is far behind. No, actually, the first slut walk happened in Bhopal, and I was surprised to hear that too. And later, it went on to Delhi and Lucknow, other places. So Bhopal is far way ahead, because if this thing can happen, it's a very, very big thing. So in Hindi, it's called Besharmi Morcha, and English, it's slut walk. Then there are a lot of private companies today, MNCs and other companies, who are actually giving first day off every month on the day of the periods when women are menstruating. So they give 1 day off. It's a choice that they can take. So it's not there in government institutions, but it's there in the private institutions today. And first, it was implemented by Culture Machine. Culture Machine's office in Bombay or Mumbai. Next is one of the campaign, which is the load. You might have seen the aerial advertisement where men are equal. Both of them are working, so you need to take care of the home together. So what we as students, research scholars, academicians can do, we can do we can go back first of all to our roots. We all know about Western feminism. So first we can read about Western feminism and then go to in the Indian context. So there are a lot of Indian feminists which we don't even read. So there's a need to go back to our roots. So there's a need to go back to the feminists like Tarabai Shinde. Then she one of, and then Savitribai Phule. So Tarabai Shinde has also written Stree Purush Tulna. She had written and where she compared, and then she talked about the feminist issues there. So Fatima Sheikh, Ramabai Ranade, Veena Majumdar, Amrita Preetam, Urvashi Butalia, etc. We need to read about them so that we know where we are living and what are the works done in our own society, in our own culture, in our own country. So we need to also South Asian, not just countries, South Asian. So we need to distinguish between pseudo-feminism and feminism. So a lot of people say fake dowry cases, फायदा उठा के fake dowry cases लगा दिए. That is not feminism. We hate men. That is not feminism. So whoever says this, you need to tell them, check your theory. You know, you have learned something very, very different, and which is exactly not the thing that feminism is. So that is why people are afraid of feminism, because they say, up to she will come and act all bossy and go. So that is not feminism. We need to question the media that we are consuming. In one of the interviews, Tapsi Pannu says audience is responsible for not buying the tickets of women-centric films. Why don't we buy the tickets of women-centric films? We would go for a Akshay Kumar movie, but we will not go for, say, Tapsi Pannu or Vijay Balan movie if it's coming at the same time. So we as audience also have to promote that. So there's a need to check what we are forwarding on WhatsApp. What are the jokes that we are forwarding on WhatsApp, Instagram, social media, anywhere? Right. So that's need. We need to also there's something called change.org. So this is a kind of a platform where you can begin with your own, start your own campaign. So you can talk about women's right. You can send the mails to a lot of people, and you can have petitions signed, and they go ahead with it. So this is one platform where you can talk about the issues that you have. Women's issues have been raised on change.org, and they send you emails, and you sign the petition for it. Next, what we can do is in our classes, in a normal conversation, we can use gender neutral terms. So this is something which is used in Oxford University. So Z, so because third gender says that we are not he or she, a lot of times we're not comfortable with he or she. So even in our answers or in the class, we end up saying certain things like we assume that our subject is male. So we always assume that in our answers we end up writing he. So why can't we write he/she or whatever, or third gender, whatever you're comfortable with? So we cannot assume that the subject is always he. In our normal colloquial conversations, also that we have. So in our college also, what I've seen in the like in Guna, what I've seen a lot of people say, "इतने लड़कों ने admission ले लिया." So it's normal. So women are also there, girls are also there. So ladka aaya hai admission lene. So the subject is always ladka. It's very small thing, but at the same time, you see, it creates an impact that you assume your subject to be a male. So our universities need to be open and liberating spaces where students, research scholars, academicians can talk on anything and everything with no parameters. Definitely you need to follow there are certain things that you need to follow, but you shouldn't be like that I can't say, you should be free to say about what you feel is right. We could have reading clubs. I don't know if you have it. Reading clubs is something where you can take up a text and come together and analyze that text in a small circle. So maybe in your tutorials you can have it. Film club where you can analyze or have a film screening and then comment on it, what you feel about it. That is how you analyze a text. So literary association is very, very important. In Delhi University, I'm unable to do it. So I understand there are a lot of other problems with the system. You can't, but you have to function within the system. So it will happen. You keep on. Maybe you make it easier for the next person to come. So you can bring in some efforts so that it's easier for the other person to implement certain things if you can't do it. So there's a need for a human library. Now, what is a human library? So the human becomes a kind of subject in the human library, living subject. So you come together, you share your experiences. So that can be associated with anything. So with human libraries, what you have, you learn to express, you learn to understand that person. So it's an amalgamation. If you see psychology, sociology, institutions, you have a crutch. I've seen a lot of in government institutions, a lot of women have a lot of women suffer because of that. After maternity leave, the child is so small, it becomes so difficult to manage everything. So what happens? And then the women have at times, I don't know when it'll come in the government system, but a lot of private universities and offices, they have this system. So we need to in classroom avoid segregation of genders. So when I first went to Guna, I saw girls on this side, boys on this side, and they're not even ready to interact. So it was very difficult for me to ask them to talk to each other. So this is also a problem because of socialization. It's not their fault. It's because of the socialization process. Many a times, even in metro cities, when I have gone out for lunches with my male friends, the bill goes to the male because a woman cannot pay. Financially independent is a male. And I've seen that in Delhi also. I've seen that in Banaras also. I've seen that in Sagar also and Guna also. I'm not saying it's always there, but I have experienced this because I think that way. And it's not the waiter's fault. The waiter has been conditioned in that way. So that's the society which is to be blamed for that. Or we can do have campaigns or pride parade. What is pride parade? Where third gender comes together and they're proud of their own gender. So that's the pride parade. Flash mobs for gender inclusivity. So we need to include all the genders in today's feminism. So this is one of my friends live in Ireland, and this was a kind of campaign they had, and they were celebrating inclusion of gender on the St. Patrick's Day. So though St. Patrick seems more about Christianity and but at the same time, if you see, they are also changing with time. Ireland was seen once upon a time as a very, very conservative country. But today, if you see, if they can do inclusion of gender, because earlier Christianity did not approve of it. But today it's changing. So this is the pride parade that they had there. So there's another food for thought that is there. So I would like to end with some thinking that I leave you some, like you think about it. So who is a misogynist? When a male is greater than a woman, when a male feels that I'm superior to a woman, that person is a misogynist. Misandrist, when a female feels that she is superior to a male. And feminist is equality of both, and today, in fact, all the genders. So we're now not aiming at matriarchy. We are not. We don't want women to rule. We want women to be seen as equal to men and other genders to be seen as equal to men. Why I did not focus much on the other gender? Because I feel women are still suffering other gender to बहुत दूर की बात है अभी. So therefore, I am just bringing in between. Let's not be afraid of the F word, which is feminism here. Let's try to change our perspective so that at an individual level we work, and maybe if we inspire even one person, our work is done. So that's the kind of achievement that you have. So this is a meme. I would like to end with a meme. I am not a feminist. I just believe women should have the same rights as men. Congratulations, you are a feminist. So this is feminism. When people say I support women and I want everything women's right and everything, but I'm not a feminist. I'm afraid of calling myself a feminist because they think that feminism is radical feminism. Man haters. But you are actually a feminist even if you don't want to call yourself a feminist. So these are the works I've referred to. Applause. Anyone else with any observation or any doubts?